every time the Deftones write a new album, they're pretty much wanting to break up. But I feel like because of that is why they're so amazing. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Getting Blunt with Keith. If you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and also make sure to hit that red subscribe button. We are getting really close to 2,000 subscribers. Before we get started, I am proud to announce that the Bogcast has officially partnered with Hempful Farms. These are products that I truly believe in and that I have been using for years now. Even Fabius and Gertie love their Paw Putty products. They literally have CBD for everyone. So if you want to save money when buying your CBD, just go to hempfulfarmscbd.com, use promo code BODCAST, and you will save 15% off when spending $35 or more, and you will get free shipping when spending $75 or more. So again, just use promo code BODCAST at the checkout and go to hempfulfarmscbd.com.
It smells hot. You smell it? Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode. I am stoked to introduce my next guest. He is one of my favorite guitar players of all time, Mark Engles from Dredg and Black Map. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Keith.
You have a lot of stuff going on actually with both bands. I wanted to start with you're celebrating the 20th anniversary of your second album just this last month, El Cielo, with two special limited edition box sets, which are on sale now actually at your Dredg store.
Indeed.
You go there, dredgstore.com. This is actually on my Christmas list right now, dude. So I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's going to give me this one.
Cool.
But I have to say, man, that at that time, that album, I honestly fucking changed my entire life. Like, I was listening to a lot of heavy shit at that time, and you guys just had this crazy combination of just being like floaty as fuck to melodic to heavy to experimental. And seriously, man, like every one of you guys as like musicians just absolutely blew me away. The fucking drumming, the so tight, the bass lines, the keys, your fucking riffs and tones, the vocals and dude, like me and my friends here in Phoenix, we literally like we're obsessed with you guys, and like we actually like we're in bands, we were inspired by you guys. So I just wanted to let you know that and stuff.
Well, thank you. That's the same thing that happens to us too. It's all cyclical, right? Like we get inspired by other bands as well, and that's what makes us do what we do too. So it all works out. It all makes sense,
Yeah, no, coming to this interview, I was trying to figure out like when was the first time that I actually listened to you. I can't remember if a friend had showed me a CD, but I do remember the first live show, and it was here in Tempe at the Bash on Ash. You played with Dead Sea, actually.
Yeah.
And I remember them opening with the Imperial March, and the keyboard player had a broken arm and stuff. And I was so fucking blown away because you guys sound so good fucking live. Like that was fucking cool about that. But I just wanted to talk about that era and that album and stuff. And
sure,
I noticed you guys recorded that at Skywalker Ranch. What was it like recording it there? Like, were you guys just like, fuck yeah, this is sick?
Yeah, it was basically like a fantasy. I mean, it was too good to be true. Yeah, I mean, we did the first 2 weeks there. We wanted to get all the parts on the album that have the big drum room sound, because they have just such a massive, it's basically designed for orchestral film scoring, right? So we wanted to start there just to at least get all the parts on the songs that we wanted the big giant drum room sound, and then we moved to Massachusetts to do the rest of the album. And then of course there's more to the story of a couple other studios, but the Skywalker Ranch thing was mainly for that, the intro to Triangle. There's a number of other parts in the album where we didn't want to use fake reverbs. We were so into that that mode at that time. Bands like Sigur Rós and Mogwai and bands like that, where they had their drum sound wasn't, the reverb wasn't wasn't digital, or it wasn't
process.
It was, we wanted, and we were doing analog tape, so we wanted an actual giant drum room to capture that sound.
I think that goes to say, like, with your guys' tone, that makes a lot of sense, because it just has that like just raw feel to it,
right.
Like that not processed tone that a lot of the bands at that time we're having, you know?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was our goal. So, and going there and recording there was just amazing. I mean, they're so pro, and yeah, it was incredible. It was a
Did you get to walk around and, like, take in, like, the sights there or
yeah,
the
definitely.
props and
Yeah,
stuff?
so it's set in the in the hills in Marin County, Northern California. So there's turkeys walking around, deer walking around. It was pretty surreal. It was perfect.
While you guys recording that, did you feel, like, a special kind of vibe, like, "Man, this is special, like, what we're doing, like, we're onto something?" Like, did you guys notice that
Yeah,
at the
I,
time? Yeah?
I mean, it was our first major label album, and the first time we had a bigger budget, and yeah, I mean, we were living the dreams that we'd always thought of. I mean, it was it was a full time job at that moment. It wasn't like we had to have day jobs and all of that, and it was back in the early 2000s when record labels actually were succeeding.
Yeah. It
And
was
so they
Interscope, right, at the time?
yeah, it was Interscope, and
Yeah.
it was back when they actually could give you a budget, and so yeah, you're in the moment of you're what, early 20s, mid 20s, and uh, and you're eat, sleep, breathing your music. So yeah, pretty incredible. Good stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. And then, on your next album, one of my favorite producers is Terry Dade. I know you got to,
hmm
work with him. What was the difference in working with Terry Dade on Catch Without Arms compared to, like, any of your other albums?
Well, I think Catch with Arms was a response to El Cielo. We purposefully wanted to make a more direct rock record because we never like to be stagnant. So we put everything into El Cielo. It was a long process to make El Cielo, and we feel like we did a good job on completing what we had as a vision. But Catch, we purposefully said, well, let's make more direct rock songs. A little bit more energy. We did it with Terry in Seattle, and we obviously loved a lot of the stuff he'd done with Deftones and
Mm.
Pantera. So yeah, that was definitely our goal, and getting him for that album made sense because we wanted to kind of answer with something more vibrant and out of the chute kind of thing. So yeah, that was that.
Is it cool to talk about, like, your writing process and stuff? Like,
Of course, yeah, yeah.
do you guys, do you guys, like, write off more jam sessions? Is it songs that you're, like, presenting to the band? Or how does that work usually?
Mainly jam sessions. And our drummer Dino is really good about. So we normally just press record on a mic, and jam on things, and then he's normally the one that goes back and picks out the spots. I mean, it could be 10 seconds, it could be a full minute, whatever the highlights are, kind of, and then we all kind of listen around and then kind of put it together from there.
And then that's when you start arranging it, and then
Yeah.
once it's all arranged, you're like, "Okay, now we're gonna go into the studio and record this?"
Right, exactly. And of course, once you're in the studio, there could be tweaks and stuff there, of course. And then that's the producer's job too. Is a lot of times you do pre-production with the producer. In different albums, we had different kind of ways of doing that. But then you have there's four of us, but you have like maybe this fifth member that you trust, and it's cool to have that ear.
Yeah,
Like, well,
yeah, have that
what,
outside
like
yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
what, that section right there can be shorter, or maybe just goes away, or that section right there is actually really great. Lengthen that, so things like that, so
I
tweaks.
think it's important for artists to have that because you kinda get, like, tunnel vision sometimes. You need
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
outside perspective to
Yep.
pull you
And
away from that.
and especially when we were younger, we were, when you're in the early 20s, and you're basically brothers writing music together. You get into arguments, or you get into, you're more stubborn when you're younger. At least I feel like that compared to now. That fifth member or that producer can be a mediator too, right? Like, whoa, whoa,
Definitely,
whoa,
yeah.
like, whoa, like everything's fine.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out.
A psychiatrist.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wrangle it back, stop bickering. Chris DeGarmo from Queensryche helped co-produce Catch That Arms, and he would say, "Pull the ripcord." That was his phrase. Um, because it was like you could go down a pathway. He said, "Don't worry about just going down pathways, like auditioning ideas. Like, don't be afraid, because you can always pull the ripcord and go back.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
go down that rabbit hole if you need to, and you can always step back and pull the ripcord.
Yeah, it's also important, just to have that safe place to know that, like, you're allowed to create a bad idea and it's okay, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes great art comes from those arguments and stuff, like, from my
Yeah.
understanding, like, every time the Deftones write a new album, they're pretty much wanting to break up, but I feel like because of that is why they're so amazing, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure. No, yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, tension can be a good thing, right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing that fucking blows me away, dude, is your guitar rig, and, I was just curious, like, if we can get into that, maybe just how it's evolved over time from your early albums to now.
Okay,
Um,
sure. Yeah. Actually,
actually
hasn't evolved much, but
oh, really?
I mean, not much. I think when I went stereo. I mean, for live, I play stereo. Obviously, in the studio, you can double parts and things like that. But for the most part, it's kind of stayed the same. I've messed around with different effects and things like that, but or switched up the type of guitar I'm playing. But live, I like to play two Marshall amps stereo to get the atmosphere. Because it's just one guitar player. Now we have two. Obviously, Gavin plays more live now. But point being is to capture that. There's something about stereo. When you listen to an album, you're going to have two guitars probably on each side in a rock album,
Mhm.
and it gives you that the 360 feeling, right? So I kind of got onto that early on, and I've stuck with that. But in the studio, I mess around with way more different types of amps. It kind of goes song by song sometimes. Sometimes you want like a old dusty little combo amp sound. Sometimes you want like a big, orange or Marshall or something. It's kind of
It
song by song.
isn't that the funnest shit, though, to do when you're just
Yeah,
fucking trying to find the tones and
it's
stuff? I feel
that's
like
real.
that's
That's I love that. That's
yeah.
my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I wanna give a shout out to my buddy Mike, I used to be in a band with him. He's a guitar player I really look up to. He's a bad motherfucker. He actually
Awesome.
had a question for you. I think you kind of answered it, but,
Okay.
he's saying that he knows that you, possibly use 2 Fender amps at the show. He wanted me to ask about your signal chain, and if you do run stereo, which you already mentioned,
Hmm.
if you use a boost or compression pedals, and what type of brand or effects you enjoy.
Wow, that's a lot. So
Yeah, right, right.
live I use two Marshalls. Gavin has the Fender Twin. That's probably what
Okay.
he saw for his slide guitar and for other parts that he picks up his normal guitar, his 6 string. Um, I use two Marshalls. I don't use any compression. I do boosts and I do dips to get clean tones. A lot of times I'll use if my amps are driven, I'll use like an EQ pedal and dip some gain and some frequencies to get cleaner tones. Boosts, I've been through all different types of boosts, but for me, it's just dynamics. I love to work with different volumes. To get those dynamics. I don't want my volume to be the same the whole time, so the songs can drop down when they need to. I like having like a middle one that's, you know, dip the low end and push the mid range, and so that's kind of like for instance, if you have a part that you want it to be punchy but not necessarily fully heavy, and then there's a heavy tone that's going to be everything's kind of pushed all the way up. That's kind of I like kind of like 3 stages, and then I add my delays and my reverbs or other effects where I want to.
And then you have an array of pedals, right? I've seen videos of, like, your
Yep,
pedals and
yep. Yeah,
stuff, so
I like having all my gain stages on the front, and then having all my, you know, effects on the back before it breaks out to stereo. So my delays and my reverbs and anything else like that, it's going to be towards the end of the chain before it hits the amps.
In Guitar World, I read that you use Ibanez Artists and Gibson SGs and Black Map to
Hmm.
differentiate your tone from Dredge and the Telecaster.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Black Map is a band that especially the first two albums, really wanted to go for just like heavier humbucker, Gibsons, and then I got together with Mike Arrigo from Ibanez, and he started helping me out with those Ibanez artists, which I love so much, and they're smaller, which is great for me. I'm a small dude. um, they sound so good. They stay in tune, and they have the humbuckers, so they're heavier. You get the crunch. With Dredge, I love a little more single coil, especially the Catch That Arm stuff, but a lot of the El Cielo stuff and Pariah. A little more mid-range, a little more twang. So Telecasters, things like that.
That Telecaster tone, man, fucking blows me away.
Yeah,
It sounds exactly live, dude, as it does on the album.
cool,
I'm telling you, dude, I'm not just saying that. I
cool.
might have to edit this next part out because this is gonna sound so cheesy and lame. But
Whatever, it's all good.
when I saw you guys at the Bash on Ash,
Sure,
you guys fucking sounded so awesome that
cool.
literally, like, I was so happy a tear ran down my eye, and
That's awesome.
the girl that I was dating at the time looked at me like, "What the fuck is wrong?" And I was like, "This is fucking awesome."
There's nothing wrong with
She
that.
look
Yeah,
like, she looked at me like I was the biggest, like
I still
like, what
cry.
the
I cry at concerts too,
Oh,
man.
okay, cool,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
If I
Yeah, but you
see,
were the only
you
band
know,
that's ever done that to me. I was like, "Holy shit." Like,
that's
I
awesome.
couldn't believe
That's a
it, dude.
compliment, man. That's
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So I just, like, I don't know, from, like, being in a band and shit, I just feel like it's important to tell their artists that shit, you know what I
Oh, I
mean?
love that. Now, trust me, if I go see one of my favorite bands and they hit those moments, I feel the same way. That's nothing but a big compliment. It's like when you watch an amazing film, or something like that.
Yeah, film does that to me too a
I mean,
lot.
that's called emotion, and if someone can bring that emotion to you, it's nothing but a compliment, in my opinion.
Fuck yeah. What was I gonna say here? So from my understanding, you guys are working on a new Dredge album, right? Does that mean that you are back on the Telecaster?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, hell
I mean, I'm a couple different guitars, but definitely writing the new stuff right now on the Telecaster. It's the same one I've had since 2002, something like that when we started writing Catch. It's a 68 Tele, and it just sounds so raw and mid-rangey. It's so imperfect, and that's what I like about it. So yeah, we're writing a new album. I'm using that, basically using the same rig. I got a couple other little new toys. You're always, as a musician, it's cool to bring in new toys for inspiration.
yeah. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, we're slowly doing it. It's tougher nowadays because we're adults and we have work and families and all that stuff. It's not like back in the days when it was kind of what I said earlier, where it was your full-time job. Nowadays we have to balance, our personal lives with working on it, but we're more connected than we've ever been. We're loving the new stuff. It's going to be another kind of left turn chapter that we feel like we're in uncharted territory, but it still has the same Dredge feeling, which that's what we always set out for. I think is pushing into new ground, but you're still going to know it's Dredge. It's still going to have the same vibe.
Fuck yeah, dude. I don't think you realize, like, well, I think you do realize how many people are excited for that, man.
I hope so. Yeah,
Yeah, like, I'm
I think
fucking
so.
stoked, dude.
Plus, we're lagging, so I get it.
Well, are you allowed to talk about, like, where you're at with that? Are you at that phase where you're talking about earlier where you're just, like, jamming and kind of arranging right now,
Yeah,
or
that's exactly what we're doing. We have a ton of material. It's more about definitely arranging, but also prioritizing certain material over other material, which is the tough part. But I'd say the last 2 years, the stuff we've been doing is what's probably going to make it on the album. And we have our, nowadays with technology, we have our Google Drive or whatever. I don't mean
Mhm,
name drop a brand, but we have a file basically,
mhm.
and it has all the tunes and all the parts and all the ideas that we all can access, and we can communicate and say, oh, here's this part. Remember this, remember that. I think this would go really good here. I think this is, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's getting there, and we're setting out our timeline. And meanwhile, we had like the El Cielo vinyl release. We also have another big announcement coming up with another product coming out, and then in the meantime, the new album will be after that, and then of course,
Oh, shit.
and then eventually touring. So
Oh, shit.
those are the four like big things on the timeline that would probably be, for the next 6 to 12 months.
Hell yeah. I was gonna say here. I know. So I know. I think I read this somewhere. Is it also some unfinished songs from the El Cielo era,
Um,
or did I
Probably
read that
not.
wrong?
Yeah,
No. Okay.
that
I might have misread that somewhere. Th-
it's tough to say, right? Because that's kind of what I was getting at is knowing what's going to make it on the album. And there possibly could be unfinished old material B-side thing that comes out. It's all stuff we have to figure out. It's
Yeah, yeah,
so nothing's official on what's going to make the album or
yeah.
what's not.
I know the trend now is for some bands, like they don't even seem to practice in the same room together. They'll just like send riffs together through,
Sure.
Google Drive or whatever. Do you guys actually practice together in a room
Yeah,
or?
yeah, yeah. So we've done that before in the past when some of us were living further apart from each other. You know, life happens. But now we're back to the old school. Get in a room, play ideas, expand on ideas, and then we do still use the technology when we're not together to discuss it. But we're playing in a room all together again, which is so refreshing and awesome. And I feel like we're happier than we've ever been in the sense of just vibe and personalities. And there were times in the past it happens where you get in a room and someone's having a bad day, or it's just right now it's not like that at all. Like we get in the room and everyone's good to go, and laughing and having a good time and having a beer or whatever. It's really cool right now.
Just we're all grown up and mature now, right?
Probably, yeah. Or I think it's also a gratitude thing. I think you get older and you kind of look back, and also doing these other projects of releasing older stuff and seeing how people enjoy it. I think it's also like a not taking things for granted
Mhm.
personality trait where you get older and like fuck your bad attitude. Look how fortunate you are that you've been able to do this as the same four guys for we started jamming together in 1993, and it's the same four guys. So I think we all just feel so fortunate that we were able to meet, the way we all met. I'm not a so-called spiritual guy, but the way the universe works, it's just super cool that us four guys got together and were able to create what we created, what we've done so far, and then we're still be able to do it in the future. That's just very, very cool.
That is very fucking cool, man. It is very hard to keep a band together of guys.
Yeah,
I always like to say it's like, say you're in a five-piece band, it's like having four extra girlfriends.
that's
But
the
not
whole. That's
not
the
only are
total.
you
Yeah, you're
not
totally
only are you
correct, man.
bickering with them, but they're bickering with each other, that and you have no,
Yeah.
you're not even involved with it. It's like,
Well,
what the
that's the
fuck?
joke, is that we always would joke about, and this is not an original joke. A lot of people joke about this.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, yeah, you're married, four guys or five guys, women or males, whoever in the band, you're married, but at least in our case, not in all cases, but you're not having sex. It's like
You might as well, yeah, you should do that. It's
you're
like, might as well be
married,
fuck.
and you're also business partners at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that can always be a thing. But we've always been really good with each other. Of course, there's been arguments. Of course, there's been fights. That's just the way it's going to go. But I think there's been a respect chain that's just driven through our career, that we respect the hell out of each other immensely.
Yeah. I'm sure you've told this story a million times, but can you just explain how you guys actually met back in the day?
Yeah. I'll try to make it quick. Different ways for all of us. Drew and I were on the same baseball team.
Oh shit.
I mean, literally like seventh grade. So yeah, middle school. Let's put it that way. And he would bring a boom box. We were in the outfield. We weren't the best players, so he would bring a little boom box. Remember, like in the '90s, a little CD player boom box, and he would put it in the outfield during practice, and we would listen to, think about 1992 basically. So Primus, Pantera, Nirvana, No Effects, like just a lot of the stuff that was so burgeoning in the underground back then. And the coach didn't really like us. He would make us run laps, and we didn't care about. I love baseball, but I wasn't good enough to care at the time. I wanted to just play music. So Drew and I met basically in the outfield, and he would be the one bringing the music. And then Dino was in my math class. He was playing drums on his desk, and I had to ask him about it because I could tell right away.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
I
he's
I
doing
know those
stuff with his
guys.
fingers. I could just tell he had amazing rhythm. And then Gavin was a little bit older, but I knew he was already a great guitar player. So I just gave him a call one day. I literally like landline, from
Mhm.
parents' house to parents' house, because we were, that was early '90s, and I think I left a message on his answer machine like, "Do you want to jam?" And that's basically it. It was like, kind of all different ways. and we all got together and started playing cover songs. That's what you do. So we initially just started playing Sepultura and
Fuck yeah.
Slayer and whatever it was we were digging at the time.
Sepultura is like one of my favorite all-time bands too,
Oh,
dude. I
me
love
too. Me
Sepultura,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, Chaos
Max has
AD.
actually been on the show, dude.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah, he lives out here and shit. Yeah, I
yeah.
love Max.
I
We
just
love Max.
saw that. I love him. I just saw the Cavalera show. I actually went to Portland to see it and San Francisco when they played Beneath the Remains and
Oh,
Arise.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
sick. I
it was
know.
amazing. I went there with my brother because my brother and I used to listen to it. So yeah, they were a huge influence on us early on. But that what was cool was we all kind of brought our different influences. Drew was a little bit more into punk rock, and he showed him and another friend showed me Primus. I think we all had. I think Gavin was a little bit more into like virtuoso guitar playing stuff, but so he brought something. We all brought different kind of
That's what creates your sound,
influences.
man. I'm
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
you. It's
yeah,
good to
yeah,
have everyone in
yeah.
a different shit because then you
Totally.
get to create this unique sound that's fucking Dredge, you know?
Yeah, that's basically how it worked.
Yeah. I don't know if this is just another online thing or something, but was there some EP called the Conscious EP during
Yeah,
'96? It said there's very little info. Can
yeah.
anyone get these demos anywhere and hear these, or are they kind of in a vault?
Not officially. I think they probably on YouTube.
Okay.
Nowadays you can probably find it. I don't know if it's high quality or not, but yeah, that was basically in a way, if you call it an industry demo that never did anything. It was a gentleman who saw us live early on in '95 or '96, and basically brought us down to record these 4 songs with the purpose to like shop them, industry
Mhm,
demo, blah blah blah.
mhm.
And it never did anything, never got released, never got signed from it. So it is what it is. It's cool. I mean, it's
I think it's
heavy.
us, yeah.
It sounds good. It's not us like what it's not. We hadn't really clicked into what is fully Dredge. It's a little bit more biting from the mid '90s sound.
Mhm.
But for what it is, I think it's still pretty damn cool. It's just we hadn't found our true sound yet.
No, I get that.
Gavin wasn't singing; he was purely yelling still. Um, but yeah, it's kind of just tuned down, heavy, energetic rock.
Well, shit, right after this, I'm gonna look that up on YouTube because I wanna hear that.
There you go.
So you're able to, like, balance Black Map and, Dredge at the same time, or do you kinda just
I'm
devote
trying.
more t yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do what I can do. Yeah, I mean, I have 2 different studios, and just try to schedule like anything else in life. But so far so good.
So you did the Atmos mix with, McKay,
Oh,
but you also did the other mix with Sean Lopez from Far, and Far is
hmm
another one of my fucking favorite bands. Jonah's actually been on the show and shit,
oh,
and
cool.
so I just think it's cool. And then you have, Chris on drums and Black Map. I just love, like,
Yep.
how all those worlds are just, like, kind of all in the,
Yeah, I mean,
collide.
we all met each other, in the late '90s at a very young age when we all were just, kind of doing our thing. So it just makes sense. Northern California has kind of always had a little bit different sound and vibe when it comes to to heavy rock. Call it what you will, but there's something about Northern California that we've always felt like this connection. With we were a big fan of Far and Deftones and stuff like that. But it just makes sense. I think over the years you carry a respect for each other, and it's really cool that we're all still working together. That connection still lives.
I actually asked Jonah that when he was on the show. I was like, "Is there something in the fucking drinking water up there?" Because, like, most of my favorite bands come from there, like, you guys, Far, fucking Deftones, Will Haven. I don't know if you know the Will
Yeah.
Haven guys.
Oh
I
yeah.
fucking
We do.
love
We
Will Haven,
love
dude.
love Will Haven too. We we
Yeah.
we play shows with them. Still in connection with them as well. I think there's different scenes all over the world that that you could go on about it, but different cities or different regions where there's just something about the place that connects with the music, right? I mean, obviously the obvious one would be like Seattle, for instance, but
Mhm.
there's going to be a vibe within a place that you live that will kind of add to your art, whatever the art is you're making, you know?
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I just wanted to get into is the Dredge Vault. Is that
Yep.
something you guys are working on that's coming out soon too?
Yeah, that's the other big thing after this El Cielo vinyl is there's this thing called the Dredge Vault, and I won't go too far into it because we're going to do an official announcement.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's going to be, let's just put it this way, a big collection of something and some things of our whole career. You know, I think it'll be pretty special for people. A lot of unreleased things that I think people haven't seen that encompasses our whole career. So that's why it's called the Vault. It's kind of like just everything packed into one package, you know?
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get into some exclusive content real here. So I appreciate everyone joining us. Make sure you go to dredgestore.com, check out their new box set, and yeah, I appreciate this, man. This was badass. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming on.
Keith. Yeah, no problem, man.
All
Thank
right,
you.
sweet. Thanks, guys. That's a wrap.